What's going on, everybody? Shante Darby here, and I am taking some time right now just to kind of show you my camera setup. You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff that I use, and what has been allowing me to put out these videos and do professional work for some of my clients. So, without further ado, let's jump into the camera bag. Here are the main tools that I use. This stuff has not been accumulated all at once, but over time. So I just want to take time and identify each item and kind of show you basically what I use. All right. This is my first body, Canon EOS 600, better known as the Canon Rebel T3i. I love this joint. When I was doing research on camera bodies, they were saying that this would be the best first camera to have when it comes down to doing video. It's my first lens I got with this body this is the kit lens. This is the 18-55. On a crop sensor, it'll be much closer. A crop sensor is where your focal length is cropped by a certain amount. So this is a APS-C sensor, so this is 1.6 crop. So if it says 18, you have to multiply that number by 1.6. If it says 50, you have to multiply that number by 1.6. Yep. So this is my kit lens. Very clear for a kit lens, you know. A lot of people, you know, don't really care for the kit lens, but it's really clear. I use it a lot. The only thing I don't like about it is this one is not stabilized. This is one of the older kit lenses. Also, the aperture varies. And take this off. The aperture varies as you zoom in. So at 18 it's 3.5 aperture f-stop. So at 18 millimeters, it's a 3.5 f-stop, but as you zoom in to 55, it is 5.6. So you're losing 2.5, 3 stops of light when you do that. So I guess that's the downside of having this. It's not really good for low light shooting, but it works great outside. So for all my adventure stuff I do outside, like the SC State Homecoming. Matter of fact, this was the only lens that I used for that whole homecoming event. Now I got this hood to block out sun rays when I'm filming. It does pretty decent. I guess I can't really compare the before and after. There is some instances where it didn't block out everything, but I'm pretty sure the lens flare would have been much worse in that situation if I didn't have it. So make sure if you're buying the first camera body, make sure you get the kit lens. It's going to come in very handy, especially when you're learning about different focal lengths. This is my absolute favorite lens I use for video. Like, this is my favorite lens. This is not my first prime, but this is one of my favorite prime lenses. This is the Canon EFS 24mm 2.8. So it's a prime lens, and it's the aperture goes down to 2.8, which is good for low light, and it gives you that blurred background, that bokeh. It's not super blurred, but it does give you an effect. So if you've seen all of my Black Couch series videos, that's been shot on this lens. It's a fixed focal length, 24mm. The reason why I really like this lens, or the reason why I got this lens, is number one, I needed stuff for low light shooting. Number two, I started doing corporate videos, and one of the first videos I've done officially, I've done videos before this one, but my first official video I used my kit lens, and I found that I tend to put it on in the 24mm focal length. So I say, hey, why not use it? Get a prime lens, which is much sharper, like extremely much more sharper than my kit lens, and also my 50 millimeter. It's sharper, and it's it's fairly new. Then it can have macro capabilities. It's not a macro lens, but it has macro capabilities. So man, this lens, I'm telling you, I use it. Sometimes I put this on and I don't need anything else. I'll show you some clips where I use this lens. Yep, so that's this one. Alright, this is the most underrated lens I guess you can buy. And you see this all over YouTube. Everyone says after you get the kit lens, especially for photography and videography, to get the Canon 50 millimeter. This is a prime lens and they call it the Nifty 50. Definitely get a 50 millimeter. This is 50 mil 1.8. So I really like this lens because number one, it's a 50 millimeter. On a crop sensor, it comes out to be about 80-85 millimeter. What I like about this lens is it's a 1.8, so that means it's super good in low light. And that's one of the downfalls of having this Rebel is not particularly good in low light. It gives you a little noise, but if you have a fast lens like this one, which allow me to get much more light into the sensor, it's really good. I have to be careful when using apertures below 3.5, particularly with this if I'm doing running gun stuff. The reason being is because it doesn't have autofocus doing video, so I'm having to always check my focus and make sure that my subject is in focus. But it has really challenged me, and I like the challenge. It tends to help me be a lot more creative, especially when I have lenses like this 50 millimeter and 24 millimeter. But this 50 millimeter have a full stop of light, as in it's gonna be much better and a bigger bokeh effect. I'll show you a video. This video I use the 50 millimeter on, and you can see it's really beautiful. So that's the 50 mil. So this lens is the Canon EF 75-300. Now I don't use this lens a whole lot. I have never used it for video work. Matter of fact, I used this once. We did the tandem jump for the president of South Carolina State University, and I used this lens, and I'll show you the clip where I used this lens, where where he was flying down. Was it that one? Either when he was flying down, I want to think either when he was flying down or either that the plane was lifting off. I think I used it for both. Yeah, I used it for both. I had a tripod where the plane was flying away, and then it was he was descending. That's when I used this lens. I don't particularly use this lens a lot for video. Number one, because the focal length is very close, and when you have a zoom focal length like this one for video, you have to be like very still, or the video will be very shaky. So unless you have a fluid head tripod that's going to allow you to get those smooth shots, then I wouldn't recommend using this for video. However, for portraits, amazing. Like, it compresses the background. I've shot many portraits with this lens, and they all came out great. Like, really great. It does have a varied f-stop. It goes from 4 to 5.6, but that never really hindered me for photos. And if I'm using it for video, I'm never all the way to 300. Like, that's just super close. I would love to use this in an interview situation, so I never really had time to or a chance to, but I think I'm going to set up a mock interview where I can use this so I can see what the compressed background looks like. Alright, let's go to some of the older lenses that I bought. This was my very first prime. This is the Canon 50mm FD. Now, the new Canon's bodies and all the digital bodies have the EF mount or the EFS mount and crop sensor. But the EF mount is different from the FD mount. These FD mount were made for the older cameras, the older film cameras, and it goes right in. So the mount is different. Everything is manual. So what I have to do is use an adapter. I'll show you the adapter that I use. This is a FD to the EF adapter, which allow me to put this on. I'll show you how it goes on. So it goes on here, goes on the back of here. Yep. And now I'm able to adjust my aperture that way. Yep. Adjust my aperture that way. Yep. So that's what I got this. Now, this doesn't have autofocus at all. So everything is manual. The focus is manual. Very smooth. Like, build quality is amazing. This is my first prime. And I love this. The reason why I don't use it as much is because, and I got this, is because of the autofocus. I used this for an interview where the camera didn't move. Okay, so I was able to set everything and the subject didn't move. So came out really beautiful. It have a characteristic that is, I said a difference. This one is very clean, very clear, very sharp. This right here has its own characteristic. If the focus is on point, it is very sharp. However, it has, like, if you look at the lens, I can really show you. If you look at it, it has a tint to it, like a vintage tint to it, and it comes out really beautiful with colors. Like, it's really beautiful. So I'm glad I picked this up. This was like $10, I think. Of course, because it's hard to sell because you have to buy a mount with it. The mount is $15 by itself. So, but this is great. I'm not going to get rid of this. I'm probably going to use this for my documentary or a movie or something like that when I start shooting film. But this is, like I said, this is the Nifty 50 EF mount, and this is the older version of the same focal length, same lens. Beautiful lens. Alright, this one I don't care for so much. This is, I don't even know the brand. Oh, it's a Vivitar. This is a Vivitar 28. This is my second prime lens that I had before I had these. Also, it's an FD mount, so I had to use the adapter for it. What I don't particularly like about this lens is it's not that sharp. I'm going to show you one of my first videos that I used this on, and that's when I first got started, and you can see the difference, that it's not really that sharp. And it could have been my fault. I had it stop all the way down to 2.8, and my focus could have been off, you know. There was some, matter of fact, I used this and the focus was dead on, and it was pretty good. But I rather, this 24 blows this out of the water. And then it's not truly Canon, it's a knockoff. So, but it got me started with the focal length that I really wanted to use, and it helped me out in good situations. I think I got this for like $5. So I'm not gonna get rid of this easy either, because you never know when it might come in handy. Alright, so that's that. I'm gonna turn this one around. This is 75 to 200 Tau 5 star. Never heard of it. It's a fixed focal length for 4.5. I use this to take some portraits, and it's pretty good. It's just like this one. It has its own characteristic when you put it on. It has a very vintage characteristic. It's almost, when you first use it, like for portraits, I didn't like it at first, but the characteristic was so, it's a micro lens, so it was very sharp, and it was so different when I started to color grade and fix some of the color. Oh, it was beautiful. I mean, like, it was amazing. Like, I like this, after I color graded, I like this just as much as I like this one. The difference is, this is all manual. I have to use the mount. Matter of fact, I did some, what you call it? I did some time lapses with this. It came out really beautiful. You have to use the mount. It takes a while to put it on this one because it's not exactly the right mount. So but it worked well for what I was using it for. I'm not gonna get rid of this one again. Never know when I'm gonna use it, especially with time lapses and especially getting into the storytelling and movie thing. You never know when these vintage lenses is really going to come in handy for telling that story or giving a certain look. Alright, so those are the lenses. When I bought this 75-20, this came with this this teleconverter, which doubles the focal length. So if I'm at 200 and I add this, it's make it 400. So the only thing is it brings down the stop of light. So that's what that is. Alright, and those are my lenses. Alright, cool.